Hi, my good friends. So, we are once again welcome to this segment. So, at this point, we'll be looking at controlling in terms of work performance. Okay, so controlling performance is split into two, and if you take the core text, you find it under chapter 4, chapter 5. Okay, so next week or the subsequent weeks on will be the chapter 6. So, it's splitting the controlling performance into two parts. Chapter 1, the part one and then the part two. Okay, so what we'll be looking at now is typically it looks more like an HR aspect, HR something, but it is not typically an HR. Okay, so at this point, I'll share my screen so that we kickstart. And as usual, I'll try as much as possible to keep it concise. So once again, this is just a summary. Okay, this is just a summary and then the text will give you some detail. Okay, we'll take it in three different bits in terms of the presentation. All right, so at this point, like I said, you're finding it typically the lecture 5 matches with chapter 5 in the textbook. Okay, in the lecture 6 we'll deal with chapter 6. It is typically matching the core text that we are using. Okay, so nothing too strange over there. So gradually we are progressing. We'll get there. We'll finish. Okay, so we're looking at dealing with controlling performance. Okay, controlling performance at the workplace. How do we control performance? Remember, someone has said that the most valuable resource in the workplace is the human being. Okay, is the human beings who work. Well, we can have some IT systems, AIs, artificial intelligence systems, computerized systems. But at the end of the day, there are human beings behind these systems who are processing, who are clicking, who are structuring this and sending codes and manipulating these systems. Okay, so human beings are very important, very valuable resource of the organization. But of course, we don't just get them, pick them freely on the street. They come at a cost. The recruitment process comes with a cost. And when you get them into the workplace, you need to pay them. You get them some salary, some good benefits to keep them. It comes at a cost. Retaining the clever guys or the technically good guys comes at a cost. Okay, training them, developing them, all comes at a cost. So it's not free. Well, they are the most valuable. So of course, you must expend enough to be able to sustain or to keep them at the workplace. Okay. So again, what we are saying here is that human resources therefore becomes critical if the most valuable resource in the workplace are the humans. The human resource management becomes very critical, and we must always ensure that we run it to the best of our knowledge. Okay, so some of you will end up becoming managers, HR guys, possibly, and even if you are not HR, you are dealing with typically finance, management, accounting staff. You end up having guys under you whom you have to control and assess them or appraise their work over time. Okay, so it's important to look at their behaviors within the workplace. How can you harness their goals, their behaviors, their lifestyles to integrate into the culture that is operating at the workplace so that at the end of the day they can all work together in meeting the overall goals of the company. Okay, all right, let's move on. So one key items you might have heard, Peter Drucker, who talks about before I move in. Okay, when you take the text, you realize that it gives us some information, some background information about the management control. Okay, like I said, this is just um, an overview. Okay, I'm giving you an overview, so I'm not going to go deep into those elements. Okay, now one of the key elements you might have heard the MBU by Peter Drucker. Okay, where he's talking about he likened it to more of leveraging the drone-like resources of staff. Okay, so he's talking of leadership must leverage the more drone-like resources of staff with lesser skills by giving them guiding frameworks on how they are supposed to work and achieve. Okay, so what he's saying is that set the structure. It's like a drone. You know how you operate a drone. You give him the instructions, and how he manages to run through the skies and get there where you are controlling him. But at the end of the day, he ends directly at your destination, and that's what you want. Okay, so management by objectives is saying let us delegate responsibility and of course some form of authority to the one who is doing the work. Give him the structure, give him the pattern, okay, what he's supposed to do, the framework, and then leave him to do how to run the work. How he will add up the numbers and prepare the financial reports or the management reports, that's left to him. well, when he needs help, he can come back for guidance, of course. So it is more like empowering the guy, not micromanaging him, and allowing him to deliver freely. The drone works in the skies or flies in the skies. When the drone sees a bird, he will maneuver his way away from the bird so that it doesn't crash into the bird. That's the intelligence system of the drone. So the same way happens in this situation where we are asked that we should clearly set a direction, provide the aims. Don't necessarily predetermine how they will achieve it. Give them the delegate the authority, the responsibility, and allow them as much as possible for them to know how. That making the decision of how to achieve the objectives is for them. They will have to do it. Okay. So empowerment is very key over here. Okay. And so one of the key jobs of an MBO leader, and I think or if every company will have some MBO leaders, is key. And is I always believe in MBOs, okay, not micromanaging me. Okay. One of the key jobs of the MBO leader is to clearly set objectives and coach the staff on how to achieve it. Like a football manager, Jurgen Klopp will teach the guys the techniques, okay? But when they get to the field, Sadio Mane must decide how he will dribble and give it to Salah and Firmino for them to score. It is not Jurgen Klopp who goes to the field and plays and scores. Okay, so he will guide them, he will coach them, and they will proceed with how to score and give a good name to the organization. Okay, so we'll move on and then we'll look at this key element, like I said, human resources. Okay, so we'll be looking at a number of practices that fall under the HR regime or their jurisdiction, their departmental roles. Okay, a lot of them come up there. You always hear of annual appraisal, midterm appraisal. Okay, health and safety, very important. I think that one forms the threshold, the threshing floor for every organization. If you are not interested in the health and safety of the staff, you are doomed. Okay, if I'm working and I know my health is not important to the organization, they want me to even come to work or meet deadlines when I'm dying. What will I do? I will lose interest totally. Then we look at discipline and grievance. Okay, they fall in two ways: discipline and grievance. One is with the employer focused. Employer will discipline you if you don't work in line with their ways. If they think you've gone off track, and grievance, employee will complain if he thinks he's not been treated well by his colleagues or by his supervisors. Okay. Then we look at diversity and equal opportunities. They are not the same. We use them mostly. We think diversity and equal opportunities are the same, but they are quite different a little. Okay. So let's look at health and safety. Like I said clearly, it is more or less the grandpapa, okay, of all the subsequent regulations in the workplace. So there are a number of regulations we've cited over there. You can see on the screen, okay. But here, what we are saying is that it is a legal requirement. All organizations have the legal requirement to ensure that staff will adhere or staff will be protected from any harm in the course of their duty. Health and safety legislations are very important, and you can see a number of them. We have country-specific health and safety regulations, which always helps ensure that the staff is working in a protective environment. Okay, so it is the role of management to ensure that our staff, our members in the workplace, do not risk their lives unnecessarily. Their lives should be protected. Okay. So think about what in the organizations might cause harm to the people and ensure that they prevent this harm from happening. Especially those who engage in manual labor. We think they are the ones who will always be exposed to what? To risks, to accidents. What about those of us who sit behind the screen? Now our eyes are all damaged. We cannot look on the screen like this. We always have to keep our lenses on. Eyes are damaged. Okay, these are all health and safety regulations we need to consider. Okay, so it's very important. Apart from the legal requirement that we should treat everyone as human beings in the workplace, accidents do occur. In the manual section, we might have heard if somebody in the line of duty loses his arm, loses an eye, loses a leg. Okay, but is that all? What about the service industry? Okay, and these things, when not safeguarded, could totally lead to a damaging reputation to the company's image. Okay, so health and safety, like I said, they are like the floor, the foundation upon which we all have to operate. If you drop below health and safety floor, your company is doomed. Okay, they are the minimum standards, and you cannot go beyond this. Okay, you cannot go below this. You should aim to go above, far and above. Okay. Now there is a point I want us to look at. SEMA actually goes into a lot of detail on this bit of legislation in terms of health and safety. So they talk of being familiar with these health and safety regulations, okay, and then ensuring that staff adhere to it. When I was working with the USAID, you will see that in the kitchenette, there is always a regular, normally it's like quarterly or monthly updates where they will clearly post it on the notices to tell you the number of workplace hazards or workplace risk which has occurred, and they do the analysis, the statistics to check whether they are improving or they are not improving. Okay. Now, in recent times, there's another item which talks about the working time regulations, and it's the most recent of these health and safety regulations. And it is actually based on the European Union directive that at a minimum, not at a minimum, a threshold, the cutoff is that human beings or workers should not be working beyond 48 hours a week. So it is averaging over a 17-week period, shouldn't go beyond 48 hours a week. In UK, I think the weekly is 35 hours considered. Okay. But of course, it's just on paper sometimes. Okay. Sometimes it's on paper. We end up working more than 34 hours. If you are supposed to develop a module from scratch, a day you can spend like 10 hours working on it. A day. So assuming you go beyond, sometimes you can end up 12 hours, sleeping late hours. Okay. So that is the key element over there. So I'll wrap up on this one, okay, telling us that the directives are very important. Every workplace needs this, okay. The number of legal frameworks on this. We have the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. We have the Management of Health and Safety at Work regulations, workplace regulations, okay, manual handling operations regulations, so on and so forth. Okay. At the end of the day, what we are saying is not, you don't necessarily have to know all of these off head and just rattle them off head. No. But what we want to say is that understand that in every workplace there are health and safety regulations which ensures that the personnel, the staff, is actually protected from any harm. Okay. Now we should also look at the cost of accidents. If accidents occur in the workplace, it is a cost. It comes at a cost. Okay. The time lost by those people who are injured. Sometimes they'll be at the hospital and you have to pay them off duty, but you have to pay them. Okay. What about the time lost by management and technical staff? So if there is the IT guy who fixes our systems for us and the person is injured, off sick, as a result of doing his work, he gets injured. What happens? You lose some time over there, okay? And sometimes the cost that we incur in getting first aid materials, calling on the medics to work. Sometimes we have to get a first aid worker at the workplace, okay? It also disrupts the flow of operations at the workplace. And of course, accidents sometimes happen to the extent that we even lose our utensils, the tools that we use in working. We get them damaged, the machines, the pieces, they get damaged along the line, okay? And of course, once insurance companies realize your company is always in the act of getting accidents, rising cost of accidents, the premiums that they will give to you will be high. If you have to run some insurance for comprehensively for your staff, the insurance premiums will always be high, okay? If you are driving a car, for example, and you have a record of crashing always, when you go to the insurance companies, they will increase your premiums for you, okay? Again, overall, we lose output. The output, the products, the productivity drops, okay? Then again, if I'm at the workplace and always I realize today someone is hurt, tomorrow the other person is hurt, I know it will get to my turn. So by default, I get demotivated and I'll always find ways and excuses to absent myself from work. Okay, and again, there is always the cost involved when we have to hire and train to replace the injured workers. Some go and they never return. Okay, and again, in the case of this, the most serious thing is that if you are not careful and you are reckless, you don't have strong regulations to or safety and healthy standards, health and safety standards, then what will happen is that you could be sued and you end up paying some compensations to those who got hurt. How do we ensure that we prevent accidents at the workplace? There is always a culture that everyone should be health and safety conscious. So let them know, teach them in the course of the induction, guide them, let them know the fire exits, let them know where to go at what time, what to open and what not to open. There are some doors that are security alert systems. Some people may not know, they just open and trigger an alarm. So we got to show them all of these things, okay? Again, you should also have some consultative participation in health and safety rules. Once in a while, get some expert come to teach them, talk to them, okay? And then again, adequate instruction, like I said, in safety rules. Give them those rules, give them the guidance, let them know the web link where they could go and consult and be able to get abreast with the health and safety rules. Okay. It is also important that regularly we undertake risk assessment of the organization to see areas where there's a likelihood of risk occurring, and also to do a risk mapping exercise to show the impact of any damage or any risk that may occur. Where they are significant, they are high, even medium, we need to forestall it. And low risk must also be monitored, because at the end of the day, they could metamorphose or grow. They can change to become high serious risk. Okay. Get appropriate standards, put in place proactive maintenance, give workers who need protective equipment or PPEs to wear, give it to them to safeguard their lives. Okay. And manage human failings. Okay. It's not just about making them aware. Let them know, okay? Let them know that it's not just about reading the rules and regulations, but you have to practice it. When there are fire drills and somebody is sitting there, this is just an ordinary fire drill. Walk the person out. Let the person know that you must follow through. Because one day when the real fire occurs, he will still be there, working. And thinking is one of those, okay? Again, we're also stating that monotonous or stressful work can impair judgment. The same work, the person is not thinking outside the box. Stressful, we are always putting extra work on him. It can impair the person's judgment. The person can end up creating serious offenses or serious errors at the workplace. Okay. Encourage use of safety equipment, like I said, and cover all tasks, including non-work tasks done that an employee does. Okay. Make sure you manage all of these feelings. Okay. Let's move on. How do we report accidents at the workplace? Of course, within the health and safety standards or protocols, there will be clear guidance on whom to report, where to report, and how to manage this. Okay. So we have the RADAR, okay, the reporting of injuries, diseases, and dangerous occurrences regulation of 1995, and it covers serious accidents like explosions, okay, burns, serious burns, explosions, broken bones, okay. And the expectation is that firms will keep their own records of all these accidents, okay, and monitor them, review them. Like I said, sometimes you want to run a risk mapping exercise, okay. Consider whether any of the risks identified in the workplace, the assessments, fall within this RADAR Act regulation of 1995. And of course, regularly monitor the effectiveness of your health and safety policies. Review them. Some are archaic. Throw them off. Revise it. Consult risk experts who will come in and guide you on what to revise, what to update, what to maintain. Okay. It is important to always investigate these accidents, okay, when they occur, and also correct any problems that have been noted. Okay. Don't When you also see the triggers, the alarms, the alerts, fix them. Don't wait for it to happen before you try to fix it. You may kill somebody. Somebody could lose his life. Okay. There is always the need to understand whether the current activity has been effective. If it is not, if it is archaic, throw it away. Bring in revised systems. Okay. And ask yourself, like I said, what are the new risks which are emerging? Don't wait for it to happen. If you see it occurring, forestall it quickly. Prevention is better than cure, because sometimes when you try to fix it, the cost of fixing could be quite high than the cost of preventing it. There are types of discipline. Like I said, discipline is more of employer focused. So when we talk of discipline, it's not the same as punishment. Okay, discipline usually discipline and punishment may look like synonymous. Okay, you discipline somebody, it's like you're punishing him. Sometimes some disciplinary actions are actually punishment. When you demote somebody from his role to a lower role, it's actually some form of punishment. Okay. But what we want to say here is that discipline should be seen more in a positive way. Okay. It is a way of trying to encourage the right behaviors. Okay. even though in part it could lead to discouraging bad behaviors. Okay, so there are a number of them. We have the positive disciplinary measures, where we talk of using procedures, systems, and equipment to ensure that the employee acts in a desired manner, positive one. So if you have to shut down, machine shutdowns. Okay, sometimes when I'm working at the uh, workplace, there's some sign that when you are leaving, shut off the systems. Okay, so machine shutdown is very important. Okay, sometimes you are working remotely, and by the time you see your system is off, because it is a way of trying to bring you on track, okay, to encourage right behaviors, okay. Controls on company credit cards so that you don't use them anyhow. There's a limit, there's a threshold, so you cannot just go beyond the approval limits, okay. Restricted access to some internet sites. You can access some website, restricted sites. It's very important that we keep all this in place. Then we have the negative discipline, okay, where we see them as punishment, okay. So where we're talking of sanctioning undesirable actions, it could be punitive, deterrent, or reformative. In terms of punitive, that's where we see that we are punishing you as an offense. You've committed an offense, so we punish you, punitive, okay. But deterrent, it helps others. It sends a warning signal to your colleagues that don't go this way. You'll find yourself in deep waters, in hot trouble. And then reformative is more like reforming you, bringing you back on track. Okay. It draws your attention to the nature of the office. Okay. For example, I go to the washroom and I write on the wall, and they find me that I've done it. The best thing they ask me is to clean it myself. So I clean it. That's reformative. Okay. It brings you back to your senses, to your normal self. Okay. And then again, it is always important, we always emphasize this, that employees should be self disciplined. Don't wait to be taught that when you do X is bad. By default, okay, morally or ethically, you know this is not good for the organization. You fix it. Okay. Now, behaviors, there are some behaviors that require discipline. You come to work late always. You absent yourself without good reason, without any prior notice. It's poor. You have to discipline them. You have to give them some warning. We'll come to the process that we use. Okay. Again, inadequate work performance. You're always performing below standard. Poor attitude at work. You are not working with a team. You are always trying to stay away from team working. You are not contributing your quota. Examples like cynicism. Okay. Improper appearance or conduct. You come and dress anyhow at the workplace. Even sometimes health and hygiene. It's all important. We have to look at all of this. Someone comes to work and he hasn't taken his bath for like 3 days, throwing some odor all around. Sometimes you need to put them back on track. Okay. Breaking safety rules, violation of other rules and regulations, open insubordination, showing some gross disrespect to your superiors and trying to challenge them in the open, trying to discredit their roles. You got to be disciplined. Okay. And again, somebody will say, I have my own money at the end of the day, or Fridays, I go and drink and booze and do all sorts of things. You think it's your own money? Yes. But you agree that the professional code doesn't allow you to do that, because at the end of the day, you will discredit the name of the organization and the name of the association you join. You got to be disciplined. Okay. And then again, we talk of semi-structured work activities, all of this. And semi-structured work activity is more of an absolute minefield. Okay. So here we're talking of the remit of the manager will largely depend on how organized the event was. Okay. How exclusive the invitees. Was it only for workplace or what actually happened? Okay. So we all go for a night out, workplace night out. Haven't we been hearing of that? We say some dinner or something. Okay. But we go there and you misbehave totally. You have to be disciplined. Okay. You don't come in with, maybe you are not allowed to come, you are allowed to come alone and you come with others and come and create a mess. You have to be disciplined. Okay. Then we have, before we wrap up finally, we need to look at these ACAs. Okay. It's typically talking of advisory, conciliation, and arbitration service. What it does typically is looking at resolving disputes at the workplace, okay, industrial disputes. So it has a number of elements, about 14, okay, 14 in total, okay, and the first four I think the first four covers more elements of writing, addressing this conflict, okay? Non-discriminatory elements without delays, okay? But the statutory minimum is defined within the Employment Act of 2002, which states clearly that when we want to apply the ACAS Code of Conduct, we should always have a written notification of the action being taken or about to be taken. Why do you want to take this action? And invite a person who is defaulted or those people in case in the disciplinary situation to come for hearing. Okay, it is important that when they come for the meeting, their side should also be heard. Okay, they should also present their case, allow them the chance to defend themselves. Then at the end of the day, weigh the pros and cons, assess the scenarios, take a decision, communicate the decision to them, let them know that you have the right to appeal. And then at the end of the day, you implement what you are supposed to do. Okay, it's a formal appeal process. Okay, it is always important the ACAS code of practice. Okay, the advisory, okay, conciliatory, and then arbitration service is always important that you keep it confidential, professional. Okay, let the person know the possible disciplinary actions that could be meted out to him. Okay, and appropriately let the management who has that authority apply the sanctions. Like I said, let a person come to the hearing. He should present his case. He should be told what has been brought before. It's like appearing before a judgment hall. Okay. But you'll be given the chance to speak. Okay. And then you can bring someone to come along to the hearing, to a witness to support your case. Okay. Staff should not be dismissed for first breach usually. Don't dismiss them unless it's a very serious gross misconduct. Then we can get a person out. Okay. And then again, don't ever take an action without first investigating. And then don't always pass the judgment without weighing the pros and cons. Give an explanation to the person. This is what is going to be happening. And then if he wants to appeal, he should appeal. Okay. There are still 6-stage disciplinary approach, but I think the last 3 are normally the same. So I normally don't see it as 6. Sima thinks it is 6, but I see it to be 3. So yes, when somebody is misbehaving or not performing according to the code in the organization, give him an informal talk, oral warning, but keep evidence, keep record of that offense. Okay. When it continues, then you give him a formal warning. It could be oral, but get evidence if it's oral and in writing. That is enough of an evidence. Keep it on file. If it doesn't occur again, it will be allowed to expire over time. But if he continues still misbehaving, then you give me a final written warning, usually 3-step, okay? That's the last chance before the sanction could be applied. And then the last 3, I think, all deals with a sanction. You could suspend him without pay, you could demote him, or you could dismiss him based on the seriousness of the offense. We end with this illustration, okay? And it talks about, yes, if you go through the textbook, you'll find it, but it's the same thing that we've plotted there, okay? The same thing that we've plotted in the slide, okay? So I'll just ask you to practice it, and then when we come, we can all address it, okay? So EFG was established 3 years ago. Since then, the company, which provides online financial advice, has experienced rapid growth. The management has not really had the time to get all management systems and procedures in place. The chief executive officer has recruited you to look at the way in which the company deals with its disciplinary procedures and problems. Write a report to the CEO explaining why EFG should have why should you have a formal disciplinary procedure, and recommend guidelines by which they can draw up a functional disciplinary procedure. Okay, so we'll look at this and we'll look at the answers. Of course, if you take the text, it helps you actually outlining the suggested solution. All right, friends, so that is 30 minutes on my clock. 30 minutes. So I'll leave it here and I'll come back in the next 2 sessions. See you soon. Bye for now.